Billionaire daughter
no father.
abandoned her poor father. Years later, only she can save his life. The crowd roared as Adam Lewis stepped onto the stage, bathed in a flood of flashing lights. Cameras clicked, champagne glasses clinked, and his name echoed through the grand ballroom. The youngest tech billionaire in London. He smiled, practiced and perfect. Underneath the polished confidence, a trace of emptiness flickered in his eyes. Then came the question that would haunt him forever. A journalist leaned forward, microphone trembling slightly. "Mr. Lewis, who inspired your success? Who do you thank for the man you've become?" The room waited, breath held. Adam's lips curved into a cold, flawless smile. "I'm self-made," he said calmly. "I have no family." Laughter, applause, a standing ovation. But far from the glittering chandeliers, in a dim flat across London, an old television flickered weakly. Margaret Lewis sat on the edge of her worn sofa, her hands trembling around a chipped teacup. The screen showed her son's face, confident, distant, unrecognizable. Her voice cracked. "You always had someone, Adam. You had me." Tears slipped down her wrinkled cheeks as she stood and crossed to the small dresser. She opened the top drawer, a locket, a few photographs, and a folded note in childish handwriting. "To Mum, the best person in the world. Love, Adam." She traced the letters with her thumb, then placed it carefully inside a small suitcase. The rain outside grew heavier, streaking the window like falling memories. She picked up her phone, stared at the contact name, Adam, and dialed. The call rang once, twice, 3 times. Across town, Adam's phone buzzed on the bar counter. He glanced at the screen, saw unknown number, and let it ring. The crowd cheered behind him as he raised his glass to toast his independence. When the call ended, the silence ebbed. Margaret's flat was deafening. She looked around the small room one last time. The faded curtains, the cold teapot, the quiet that felt final. She whispered, "Maybe it's time to stop waiting." The next morning, her door was left slightly open. A neighbor knocked softly, then peered inside. The room was neat, her few belongings gone. "She just left," the woman murmured, stepping back into the rain. And somewhere across the city, the most celebrated man in London had no idea that the one person who'd loved him most had vanished, carrying nothing but his childhood note and a mother's broken heart. The rain had followed him again. It drummed softly against the car roof as Adam Lewis stared out at the streets of East London, the ones he once swore he'd never return to. The charity team had convinced him to shoot a backstory piece near his old neighborhood, a PR stunt, nothing more. But as his car slowed before the narrow lane lined with peeling houses, something uneasy stirred inside him. He stepped out, his polished shoes splashing into muddy water. The familiar scent of damp bricks and fried bread hung in the air. His gaze stopped at a small house with boarded windows and a crooked "For Rent" sign swaying in the wind. That was it, his childhood home. He walked closer, his reflection warping in the cracked glass. Inside, he could almost see her. The woman who'd once sat by that window, sewing through the night, just to buy his school books. His chest tightened. Why does it still hurt to remember? The silence broke with his phone ringing. Michael's voice crackled through the speaker. "Adam, the press won't let go of that 'no family' comment. It's all over social media. You should make a statement." Adam forced a smirk. "It'll die out by tomorrow. People forget fast." Michael hesitated. "Do they?" The line went dead. A soft voice called from behind him. Adam Lee. Whiz? He turned. An elderly woman stood by her gate, laundry basket in hand, her face wrinkled with years, but her eyes were kind. I knew your mother. She was proud of you, you know. Always watched your interviews, even the ones that hurt her. He looked away, jaw tight. Do you know where she went? Mrs. Turner sighed. She didn't say. Some people don't need to. They just stop waiting. Her words cut through the drizzle like glass. That night, parked under a flickering street lamp, Adam sat in silence. The city lights glowed distant, uncaring. His phone buzzed on the seat beside him, an unknown number again. He hesitated, then opened the message. You'll regret the words you said. Some things money can't fix. The screen dimmed, leaving only his reflection, haunted and alone. The storm hit without warning. Wind howled across the London skyline, lightning flashing against the glass walls of Adam Lewis's penthouse. He sat alone at his desk, staring blankly at a half-written email to investors. His phone buzzed once, then again, then kept ringing. Unknown number. He sighed and ignored it. But the ringing wouldn't stop. It grew sharper, louder, almost urgent, until something in his chest told him to pick up. He answered with irritation. This better be important. A calm, steady voice replied, Mr. Lewis, this is Nurse Claire Thompson from St. Mary's Hospital. His breath caught. Hospitals never brought good news. What is this about? A woman named Margaret Lewis was admitted tonight. She's in critical condition. You're listed as her only compatible blood match. Everything around him seemed to freeze. The rain against the windows, the hum of city lights, all turned to silence. What? What did you say? She needs a transfusion urgently, sir. Without it, we may lose her within hours. Adam gripped the phone tighter, his pulse pounding. There must be another relative, someone else. No, Mr. Lewis, you're the only one. For a long moment he said nothing. His reflection in the window stared back, pale and shaken. He swallowed hard. I'll be there. Just keep her alive. He didn't even change his clothes. Grabbing his keys, he ran through the storm, the elevator doors closing on the life he'd built, and the guilt he'd buried. Rain lashed his face as his car sped through the empty streets. Flashbacks flickered behind his eyes. His mother clapping in the crowd at his graduation, the meals she skipped so he could eat, the call he never answered. By the time he reached the hospital, the night felt endless. He burst through the doors, drenched and shaking. I'm here for Margaret Lewis, he gasped. The nurse pointed down the hall. Room 304. He ran, heart pounding, footsteps echoing, but as he turned the corner, he stopped dead. On a small chair outside the ICU sat a little girl clutching a stuffed rabbit, whispering through tears, Please, wake up, Gran. And when she looked up, her eyes were his. Gran, please wake up. I'm being brave, just like you said. The little girl's whisper echoed softly through the white hospital corridor. Adam stood frozen a few steps away, his breath caught in his chest. The child lifted her head, and for a heartbeat, time stopped. Those eyes, hazel green, flecked with gold. His eyes. He knelt slowly. Hey, what's your name? She hugged the stuffed rabbit tighter. Lily, she said in a small voice. Gran's sleeping. She said her boy would come. I told her you would. Adam's throat tightened. Before he could speak, a nurse approached, her tone gentle. You must be Mr. Lewis. I'm Nurse Claire Thompson. Lily's been here since your mother was brought in. She calls Margaret her Gran. He shook his head. That's impossible. My mother doesn't have anyone. Claire glanced at Lily, then back at him. She looks a lot like you, she said quietly. Adam's pulse quickened. He turned toward the ICU window. Through the glass, he saw Margaret lying motionless, pale beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. Tubes snaked from her arms, her chest rising faintly beneath the thin blanket. Lily stood beside him, pressing her small hand against the glass. She likes when I sing. It helps her dream. She began humming softly, a lullaby, the same one Margaret used to sing when Adam was a boy. He swallowed hard, memories cutting deep. His voice was barely a whisper. She used to sing that to me. Dr. Richard Evans entered, clipboard in hand. Mr. Lewis, your mother's stable for now, but she needs a blood transfusion soon. You're her only match. Adam nodded quickly. Do whatever it takes. Take what you need from me. As he signed the consent forms, his hand trembled. He looked one last time through the glass, his mother lying still, and a little girl with his eyes watching him like fate had finally come full circle. As he turned to leave, Lily whispered behind him, "She said you'd come before she went to sleep." And for the first time, Adam realized his mother had never stopped believing. "Mr. Lewis," the nurse said softly, stepping into the waiting room, "your mother left this for you, just in case." She handed him a sealed envelope, the paper yellowed at the edges, Margaret's handwriting shaky but familiar. Adam stared at it, afraid to open it. The room felt colder suddenly, the distant hum of machines echoing through the corridor. He sat down on the wooden pew inside the hospital chapel, light from a single stained glass window falling over him. Slowly, he broke the seal. "My boy," the letter began, "I never needed your money. I only ever wanted you to remember where you came from." The words hit him like a knife. He blinked through the tears, reading on. "Do you remember the night you couldn't sleep before your exam? I stayed up making sure your shirt was clean, though I hadn't eaten that day. I didn't mind, Adam. You were my reason." His breath trembled. Each sentence painted memories he'd buried, her tired smile, the warmth in her voice, a way she always clapped the loudest for him. But then, the next lines made his heart stop. "Before your father passed, he came to see me. He was sick and ashamed. He brought a child, his granddaughter Lily. She had nowhere to go. He asked me to keep her safe." Adam's grip tightened. "Lily." The letter continued. "I couldn't tell you, son. I feared you would see her as another reminder of the man who broke us. I only hoped that one day, when you were ready, you'd find her, and see her not as his, but as ours." A tear fell on the page. He whispered, "She's my sister, or my niece." But the words wouldn't settle. Before he could read the last lines, alarms blared down the hall. Nurses rushed past the chapel doors, their voices sharp with urgency. Dr. Evans appeared at the doorway, eyes grim. "Mr. Lewis, your mother's heart rate is dropping. We're losing her." The letter slipped from his hand as he ran. The words, "I only ever wanted you to come home," echoed in his mind, chasing him into the blinding white of the emergency ward. The sirens blared through the corridor as nurses rushed Margaret's bed into the operating room. Adam followed, breathless, his heart pounding like the alarms echoing off the sterile walls. "Please," he shouted, "do whatever it takes. Just save her." Dr. Evans turned to him, calm but firm. "Mr. Lewis, we need your blood. You're her only chance." Within minutes, Adam was prepped on the opposite side of the room. Tubes, wires, cold metal, none of it mattered. As the needle slid into his arm, his chest tightened with a guilt heavier than pain. He whispered under his breath, "Don't take her from me. Not now." Nurse Claire adjusted the monitor beside him. "She's still fighting," she said softly. "Sometimes love just needs a reason to keep going." The words hit him hard. Images flooded his mind. His mother waiting at the dinner table for calls that never came, her tired hands folding his shirts, the voicemail he deleted without listening. Tears blurred his eyes as he watched the red stream of his blood flow through the clear tube, merging with hers. For the first time in years, they were connected, not by words, not by success, but by life itself. He stared at her pale face through the glass. "You gave me everything, and I gave you nothing. Please, Mum, come back." The machines beeped faster. A nurse shouted numbers. For one terrifying moment, the line on the heart monitor flatlined, then spiked again. "She's stabilizing," Dr. Evans called out. Relief flooded the room like light breaking through clouds. When it was over, Adam slumped in his chair, drained and trembling. Claire rested a hand on his shoulder. "She made it through the worst," she said gently. He nodded weakly, his voice barely a whisper. "She always does." Dr. Evans stepped out, removing his mask. "She's alive, but still unconscious. The next 24 hours are critical." Adam looked through the glass once more, his blood still flowing into her veins. It wasn't just a transfusion, it was redemption, one drop at a time. But as the monitors steadied, a single thought haunted him. What if she never wakes up to forgive me? The morning light crept through the blinds, soft and golden, spilling across the hospital room. Machines beeped in slow rhythm, matching the faint rise and fall of Margaret's chest. Adam sat slumped in the chair beside her bed, his head resting on his folded arms. He hadn't slept in 2 days. Lily sat on the floor, crayons scattered around her. On a white sheet of paper she'd drawn 3 smiling figures holding hands, Gran, Adam and me. Above it she wrote in shaky letters, "My family." Nurse Claire entered quietly, placing a cup of coffee beside Adam. "You should rest," she whispered. "She's stable now." He looked up, eyes red. "I'm not leaving her again. Not this time." Claire smiled faintly. "Your mother talked about you every single day, even after you said you had no family." Her words hit like a knife. Adam turned to Margaret, her hand small and cold in his. "Mum," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm sorry for everything. I'd give it all up just to hear you call me your boy again." Then something changed. Her fingers twitched, the faintest movement. The heart monitor beeped faster. Adam froze, eyes wide. "Mum?" Nurse Claire rushed to her side. "Margaret, can you hear me?" Margaret's eyelids fluttered open. For a second she looked lost. Then her gaze found him. A weak smile touched her lips. "You came back," she whispered. Tears streamed down Adam's face. He gripped her hand, his voice trembling. "I'll never leave again. I promise." Lily climbed onto the bed, her small hand resting on Margaret's arm. "Gran, I told you he'd come." Margaret smiled faintly, her eyes moving between them. "You know who she is, don't you?" Adam nodded. "Yes, she's family now." Margaret's breath steadied, her voice barely a whisper. "Then there's one more truth you must hear. About your father." Adam's heart stilled. The monitor beeped in the background as he leaned closer. "What truth?" Margaret's lips parted to speak, but the door creaked open and a shadow fell across the room. The rain tapped gently against the hospital window as Margaret's voice trembled through the quiet room. Your father came back once, before he died. Adam's eyes widened. He came back. She nodded weakly. He was sick, ashamed. He'd lost everything. He brought a child, his granddaughter, Lily, your half-brother's little girl. He begged me to raise her, said she deserved a family, something better than he ever gave us. Adam sat in stunned silence. The truth settled in heavy, bittersweet waves. You carried all that alone, he whispered. Margaret smiled faintly. I carried it because I believed you'd understand one day that love isn't a weakness. He took her frail hand gently in his. I understand now, Mum. I do. Weeks later, the city skyline gleamed beneath clear skies. Margaret walked slowly through the doors of the Margaret Foundation, the new charity Adam had built in her name. Cameras flashed, but this time Adam didn't flinch. He stood proudly beside her and Lily, not as a billionaire, but as a son and a man finally at peace. Inside the new building, portraits of single mothers lined the walls, women Margaret had once stood among, invisible to the world. Now, her story would help others rise. During the opening speech, Adam's voice broke slightly. My mother taught me that wealth means nothing if you forget who you are. This foundation isn't built on profit, it's built on love. Margaret looked at him, her eyes glistening with quiet pride. You've finally come home, my boy. He smiled, pulling Lily close. And I'm not leaving again. As the applause swelled, Margaret's hand rested over his heart. Remember this, Adam, she whispered. The richest man isn't the one with the most money. It's the one who can love without shame. That night, as the city lights shimmered below, Adam looked to the sky and murmured, Thank you, Mum, for never giving up on me. If this story touched your heart, share it to remind someone it's never too late to go home.